up? It is, if you're listening to this right now, it's probably Tuesday. I think Christian's going to drop this day after recording. What's up? It's Nick and Christian from the Uneeda Horror Podcast. Christian, how you doing?
Hey now. How you doing, man?
Well, if you guys noticed, we got somebody else with us. We have the hilarious, also, you may not know, but big horror aficionado, Brent Terkun.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah,
brother.
No problem, man.
Good to meet you in person. It's always you interact on the internet, and then you're like, and this isn't even in person. This is as close as you can get without in-person thing. But good to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
No, yeah, I was telling Christian. So last week I was like, I'm gonna take a shot in the dark. I'm gonna message this guy. He's got like 400,000 followers. He's not gonna see my message. Whatever. 5 minutes later, he's like, let's do it. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about something that's fun to talk about. So.
Well, I wanted to ask you really quick. I'm sure you get a lot of message requests. Do you actually take the time to like scroll through them?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. It just depends on how busy I am and how in love with the internet I am. Okay. and that just tends to be like what's going on the internet. Some days you probably know as well as I do. There's a lot of internet on the internet, and some days I'm like, nah, I'm good, and other days I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Which one are you closer to 9 times out of 10? Is it the nah, I'm good?
Yeah, nah, I'm good.
Me too, man.
So I obviously, guys, if you don't know, I'm sure you've seen a video from Brent because he's gone viral many times. Brent's a comedian, very sarcastic comedian at that. That's his bread and butter. A lot of people don't understand his style and they take him seriously. But one thing, I've been following you because you're funny, of course. But also, one thing caught my eye a few months ago on Twitter. You quote tweeted something, and it was like, what's a movie you've seen like 100 times or whatever? And you posted the GIF of Michael Myers next to the hedge.
Yeah.
And I was immediately like, oh, wait. Not only is this guy funny as shit, but he loves Michael Myers. Is that your favorite movie?
Yeah, that one or The Dark Knight would be up there, which those are completely opposite movies. But yeah, I've at least seen the most, definitely those two. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Halloween. You can, if you're just listening to the audio version, I have a bunch of horror stuff behind me. And up here is like a bunch of custom horror Michael Myers stuff. Halloween's my favorite franchise.
Oh, well, as you can see behind me, same. It is also my favorite franchise. Christian over here, he's the Freddy guy, but his favorite horror movie is Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
That's one of my favorites. I saw that. Like it was like a Cheer. It was on I don't know if it was a HBO or Showtime long time ago, and I didn't realize it was like a half horror comedy because I was watching with my brother, and there's like, you got Miguel Nunez being like, there's tons of those motherfuckers out there. Like just all his lines are funny. And then the little person, zombie or the zombies like send more paramedics. Like we were like, this is the worst horror movie. And then you realize it's a horror comedy and that makes it even better. That's, I think probably my favorite zombie movie is that one.
Very nice. Yeah, that's good to hear. We're starting off on the right foot.
Yeah,
we could talk about the sequels and maybe disagree, but
well, you guys won't disagree much. Christian, I think you've got an affinity for the first 2 sequels, right? And then after that, you're kind of like, you can take or leave it.
I love part 2. It makes me feel like a kid watching that. Plus, it's gorgeous to look at. Part 3 is lovely. It's hard not to hate Mindy Clark. It's hard not to love Mindy Clark, that is. And those the blockbuster rental ones, I mean, after I did deep dives and researched them, I don't think they're good movies, but the stories are fascinating about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was supposed to be a I don't know, a $30 million movie initially when the guy wrote it, William Butler, and then it turned into a $500,000 movie that got split into 2 films. So,
yeah.
But we could talk about that, later on. But yeah, I love Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, so Christian actually got me to watch that movie for the first time. I'd never seen it. I was more like into your mainstream zombie movies, I guess, like because zombie, that subgenre has never been a huge one of mine that I've been really big into. So I'd really been exposed to Romero. But he also got me to start watching. I've only seen a few of them, but Lucio Fulci movies, and I absolutely love Zombie. Have you seen Zombie?
I have seen Zombie because I was about to ask which one. All those Italian directors, I get them all confused. Fulci and Argento, I think, is another one. But I have seen Zombie just by people being like, "There's a shark fight," or the eyeball thing, and then you watch it and you're like, "Oh yeah, this is pretty good."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Fulci's the
Christian.
king of Italian horror to me. If you get into his stuff, he's the king.
Yeah,
you don't give a fuck about reality. His movies just they operate on a different plane. So,
well, okay, so let's do this. If you guys don't know, Brent started a podcast, but what about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, something like that. It's relatively new.
It's new, and we have them the first season all in the can, which is 11 episodes total. So it was started a while ago, but it's finally coming out. So it's called "They're Coming to Get You." It's with my friend Gavin Eddings, who is runs a YouTube channel called Gavin Loves Horror. So our first season is, you've seen at least one of these movies. We chose the biggest horror movies. So just if you don't like us, you will like some of these movies. Our first one's Halloween. We did The Exorcist. We've done Jaws, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Dawn of the Dead. That's all that are out. And we've already started playing in season 2, which will be out shortly.
how'd you film all these? Tell me about the scheduling of this. Did you just say, "All right, dude, you better drink some coffee. We're about to bust out a bunch of it. We're going to record a bunch of episodes."
Well, that's pretty much we did one a week, but then we started out 2. But so it took us, about 9 weeks to do all these. And it was, I like to take a bunch of notes and be super prepared. And I know Gavin does too, but for me, it's like watch it once and then take notes and then maybe have it on while I'm taking notes type thing. So for me, it was very an intense process. Even though I've seen these movies a bunch, I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about, which I probably won't on this show. But at least, like, I don't want to be a novice in the middle of my own podcast,
Sure. I'm excited, man. I'm ready to check those out. And that was called the name of the podcast again one more time.
Yeah, They're Coming to Get You. So just remember, they're coming to get you, Barbara.
Get you, Barbara. Of course,
yeah.
of course.
And Gavin is a comedian too. So we love horror, but also we try to make it as funny as possible. So because some of these, there's 1,000 episodes on the movie Halloween, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if you're looking for one that's talking about the podcast, but also is going to have its funny moments, that's definitely our show.
Excellent.
Well, that's a good segue, because I've listened to all the episodes that have been out so far, aside from Jaws, because I think I got the notification last night that it came out, so I haven't listened to it yet. But my first horror movie I ever saw was The Exorcist, and that, obviously, I was a little kid. I don't know why my mom let me watch that, but listening to your guys' episode, it's funny because you guys cover the movie. Obviously, you hit all the bullet points, but you guys make it funny at the same time. And I've got to ask you, first off, what was the first horror movie you remember watching?
I remember being scared and probably not seeing it all the way through, and not knowing what movie it was, and finding out later it was Return of the Living Dead 2, because I remember the Michael Jackson zombie, which half scared me. But probably the one that I saw all the way through and remember was probably Scream. And that was, I was born in 89, so 96. So it was kind of like I could have full memories of a movie. So Scream was probably the first one.
Okay. Well, and I bring this up because, and I messaged you this last night, and I was half joking, but I wasn't. You guys went on this whole segment about a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it is hard to say Ouija board. You can get tripped up, and it's Brent's saying what happens when you play with a Ouija board? Is it it's a me?
It's a me, a demon.
And I wanted to ask you, when you guys do stuff like that, that's all ad-libbing, right? When you guys go off on tangents like that.
Yeah, and Gavin and I are pretty good friends, and we've been podcasting in one form or another for a little while, so we just have a good rapport, and that's so you can't manufacture that type of stuff, So, and we do good at about bouncing off each other, that Halloween episode. I couldn't remember Panaglide camera, so I said Astroglide camera. And I knew it was a joke, but I was also pretty close to what it was. So now it's forever an Astroglide camera on the podcast.
Dude, he kept rolling with it too. He mentions that he knows it's not an Astroglide. He's like, I'm calling it an Astroglide. So.
Yeah.
Sounds better to me.
It's moved smoothly. So why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. So, I mean, Christian, where do you want to go first with Brent here? Like
the comedy. I got to know about the comedy. We could talk about horror. We're going to, but like, how does this start getting into comedy? Because that's like, dude, and are you like an antisocial, not really like outward person? Because a lot of the guys that I love, like the Tim Dillons and stuff like that, they talk about not really being social people.
Yeah.
Are you that way?
I tend to be more of that, but I just had the necessity of like having to speak to people and meeting people after shows. I can do that now. When I first started comedy, I'm still an introvert, but it was like painfully introverted, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can do stuff like that. You know, the more you talk to people, I can talk to you guys, and we've not met, but you know, seem to be getting along pretty well so far. No, but
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But it was one of those where it was, you know, a lot of comics tend to keep to themselves, and there's like a Bert Kreischer type comic who I feel like that guy can talk to anybody about anything and keep going, and he's the life of the party, and I'm the antithesis of the life of the party. Like I'll go to the party, but I'm in the corner watching everybody else. Me. So that's been more my personality. But through necessity over the years, you learn to talk to people. And I've gotten so much better at that.
Now, with COVID playing a role over the past 2+ years, would you say that helped your career? Because I know a lot of comedians that have gone viral on the internet many times. COVID really helped.
It did. Because first off, like I tend to work the road a lot, just going out and doing shows. So I was doing maybe 45 weeks a year, give or take. Because that's my personality. I'd rather go be doing shows, you know, but then I was getting burnt out, and I was like, man, not being able to leave the house, that sounds great. like I don't miss the pandemic, but I miss the lockdown, just not having to leave and do, you know, anything. So I love that. But then after 2 or 3 weeks of being a piece of shit, I was like, okay, I got to do something. So I was doing the videos that people would know me from as a political satire. Is, you know, if anybody knows me, it's from those videos. So, and we were all like in our phones or not commuting to work, or we were all on the internet or watching Tiger King and all that stuff. So we all had the time to do stuff. And I just started doing those videos almost on a daily basis. And my social media numbers drastically shot up. Like from Twitter, I was at like 23,000 to that. Now I'm at 370 something thousand. So it's like, you could like refresh my Twitter and watch it jump up 1,000 followers, which to me is so crazy. But yeah, it was one of those where I tried to learn some things. I took acting classes via Zoom. I did a bunch of podcasting. I tried to better myself, but also enjoy that time of not having to do really anything. It was essentially that time between Christmas and New Year's, where nobody cares if you don't wear real clothes, you know, wear pajamas.
Well, I want to ask you, have you seen the fruits of that now that you've returned to live shows? Have they gotten bigger now? Do you have more fans, you would say?
Yeah, people are coming to shows on purpose, which is what any comic wanted, you know, like before I will do some of these shows, but like people are coming out because it's comedy night on a Saturday night. It's the night to go out. It's a show. We don't know what to expect, but now more and more people are coming to see my show specifically, and will come up and talk to me about my videos after the show, or just want to get a picture, which that's all a boy ever wanted. Was that type of stuff, you know?
Yeah, and there's two things I would say as someone that's been watching you for years. Is one, you're known for the emotional support beer, like that's a big thing, and he sells koozies, by the way, guys.
Yeah, my character always has an emotional support beer, so it's a koozie, and It's available on BrentComedy.com.
Yes, check it out.
But
And then,
yeah, it was like half a gimmick. I just said it, and one of my friends was like, "You should put that on a koozie." It was not by design, but I'm glad he said that. You
Hell
know?
yeah.
and then also the I don't think so.
Mhm.
That's like your go-to phrase. And one of my favorite
Yeah.
videos is the smoke detector video,
Mhm.
where it's Brent's basically talking about how like a smoke it's satire, obviously, but a smoke detector is good, and like there
Mhm.
are uses for it. And he goes, "Well, it's not going to stop the fire, whatever." Like
Mhm.
it's hilarious. I mean, where did the I don't think so come from? Was that just natural? And then did someone tell you, dude,
Yeah.
that's it?
It seemed like you can read the comments and on certain videos and see what really resonated with people. And that one was not by design, but it was also my inspiration for that character is people that will rant in their truck. So sometimes you'll just catch a guy who can't spell worth like just doesn't know how to. So like I would always try to misspell something in the caption of the video because that always draws people out of like they'll be like, it's not spelled R, it's our, like they're taking our jobs type thing. So, and I would say thanks. I don't
Mhm.
think so. And then people that resonate. I don't know why it does, but people like it, or like one that I love to say instead of I digress, it's I digest.
Yes.
That's just
Yes.
funny to me. If I heard a character do that, that's funny to me. So,
Yeah.
and sometimes I have those things that notes in my phone, like maybe I digest wasn't really something I wrote for a specific video, but I put it in my phone because I'm like, I could use this later. I just got to know how it fits into things.
Yeah. Also, your comment sections are always people pointing out the cough. The cough that comes in at the end is just like he'll be ranting and all of a
Yeah.
sudden just start coughing and the video ends.
Yeah. Yeah. With COVID, especially, it's like a guy who denies the existence of COVID or any. So it's for me, it was like, oh, this guy clearly has COVID, and every video, and I was like, I don't know how this is going to play out, but yet here we are, 2 years later, still having a hacking cough. And if I don't do it in a certain video, people are like, "Where's the cough?" Now it's a thing that I have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell
Brent,
yeah.
let me ask you this, Brent. Let me get inside the mind of a comedian performing real quick. What is the most stressful part of it? Is it the 10, 15 minutes before your set? Is it getting the first laugh from the
Mhm.
people? Or was it after you started getting a really big following on social medias and you saw that come to fruition in real shows and stuff like that? What gives you the worst stomach cramps, the worst nerves? What is it? What is it? What is the worst
Yeah.
part of it?
Now that like if my name is on the marquee or the flyer or whatever, it's like I hope people show up. And it's one of those things of like I don't, and sometimes it's if there's a light turnout, it could be any number of 4th of July weekend, any whatever things that I had no control over. But I'm also like, I don't want to let the club down. I don't want the other audience members down. I hope people show up, and I hope that they leave happy and that's whether it was me being people knowing my name or not. But it's like sometimes like if you're like parents or whatever, you maybe get like one night out a month or for the year, and it's like they paid to park, they got a babysitter, they went out to eat, and it's like the last thing I want on my conscience is that I was the dud of the evening and now they won't get to do this again for another 6 months. So bare minimum, I want you to leave thinking, wow, I'm glad we did this.
Yeah. Well, I went to my first comedy show, what was it, 2 months ago. I'd
Hmm.
never been to a comedy show, almost 28 years old, never done it.
And it's
And it,
such a different, it's not a Netflix experience.
no,
It's so much better in person. And that, I'm also biased because I need you to come to a show. I don't take my word for it, but it's better. But go ahead. Your first
no,
live
it
show.
is. It was Trey Crowder. I
Yeah.
came out and
Trey's
saw
great.
Trey. He's hilarious. And I've caught you on his podcast many times as
Hmm.
well when you've been on. And you're actually going to be in my stomping grounds this weekend. I live in Dayton. That's where I saw Trey. I saw him
Yeah.
at the Funny Bone, August 26th and 27th, right?
Yes, this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So I've been to Dayton many times. I like Dayton, so we're gonna have a good
Well,
show.
at
We're gonna have
least
two
at
good
least one
ones.
person
We're
does.
we're gonna have a good show, and we're gonna do two shows, but one of them's gonna be good. You find out which one. This is going to be comedy roulette.
But yeah, so all right, we've gotten into the comedy side of it. Now, let me ask you, I mean, were you worried about starting this podcast that you were doing because you were like, well, people know me for one thing. Is this really going to take off? Like, how did that go for you? Did you just say, fuck it? Like, I'm going to roll with it because I love horror movies. That's part of who I am.
It was all that, but part of it was like when Gavin and I talk, we always inevitably just talk about horror movies. So half of it, like the work is done of we like horror movies. And some people are like, they don't even know that I do stand up still, which part of that is my problem. But, and then the character, what you see on the internet is I've been doing stand up for 17 years. So the character was a late addition to everything that I do. But it was also like, those episodes of Halloween or whatever, we make them evergreen. So you can listen to it in 3 years and it's about the same episode. Maybe you won't get all the references, but yeah, this is a passion project because whenever I do tweet about horror stuff versus other topics, I can see that there's like definitely like I'll get a more reaction for certain things than horror things. But also, horror in general, unless it's October, people think you're kind of weird for liking anyway.
Yep.
It's hard to talk about The Exorcist in April. Nobody cares,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how this happened with Christian. I mean, Christian, if you want to talk about, because you can relate and you had a channel, you had a following, and then you decided, fuck it, I'm going to do a podcast too because it's something I want to do. It's kind of where Brent's at now. It's like branching off now into the podcast game.
Yeah. I'm a fan of podcasts. Number one, when I go jogging and stuff, I mean, there's nothing that gets me lost more than listening to a good conversation, right?
Yeah.
So that, and from the business side of it, I'm sure you know this too. Ads are much better on long form videos, and people have 2 attention spans nowadays: 5 seconds and 2 hours. There's not really much in between.
It's so crazy.
You know what I mean? So, and it's fun. It gives me a chance to actually have a talk with a friend every week with Nick. And it's like, it's kind of therapy. I'll be honest with you. The podcast has become therapy in a sense. Yeah. It's where I unload all my bullshit to the world. But yeah, I love it. It's my favorite thing I've done. So I think you'll find it very fruitful doing it.
He's not bullshitting either, Brent. We have some wild episodes in our oeuvre over the last year plus. I mean, there was an episode where we talked about great horror sequels where I stood on a soapbox and said the Doctor Sleep's better than The Shining. And it made Christian storm out of the room on the podcast. I got attacked a couple weeks ago for saying I was more excited for Evil Dead Rise than Halloween Ends because people are like, you're the Halloween guy. What the hell? Yeah. So I guess let's just jump right into that. Why not, Christian? Let's ask him. Are you nervous for Halloween Ends? Like, are you nervous that they're overpromising and they're going to underdeliver?
I don't know. Do you guys think they're overpromising?
Jamie Lee, I love Jamie.
Well,
but,
she's an executive producer. Of course, she's going to overpromise. Right. But I don't know that the rest of the crew is. Maybe, of course, they're not going to say it's bad and don't watch it. But I tend to take what she says. This is her promoting. Man, this is my favorite franchise, and I think they've done a great job so far with the first 2. I've enjoyed them. At least there are problems, yeah, but you look at the whole franchise and most horror movies in general, there's problems with a lot of stuff, but I really like it. And like when I watch Halloween Kills on Peacock, I watched it once and immediately just restarted it because sometimes one watch for me is not enough I got to take it all in. Then that second watch, it's okay. Let me critique this,
Dude, so, I'm the same way. When I saw 18 in theaters, it had been a decade since Halloween had been in the theater. So being a diehard fan that I am, that first watch, I was everywhere but there. And I couldn't digest everything, no pun intended,
But I digress.
Yeah.
I couldn't digress everything.
I couldn't digress everything that I'd just seen. So I had to see it. I saw it 3 times in theaters. Christian calls me crazy for doing that. And
I believe the word was nuts, not great.
Nuts. You're right. But that movie was a movie that like I was so hyped for, and I felt like it was okay. Like I was cool with most of it, but Kills was just a far better experience for me because I didn't think Kills had the pressure of being like, oh, we got to be that true sequel to the original. Like they got that out of the way. So Halloween Kills was just like, let's just be a bunch of monkeys throwing poop everywhere and like people will dig it. And I dug it. Christian's a fan of it too. Which one do you prefer of the two?
I think I've seen 2018 a bunch, so now I prefer Kills because I've not seen it as much, even though I have seen it a ton. But also, so I guess I do prefer Kills, but I feel like a good we'll be able to judge Kills by how Halloween ends because it's the middle, it's the branch, the bridge between the two, and it's also people like it's so gory. I'm like, well, it's called Halloween Kills, like that's what it's here for,
Yeah.
So how they end it, I don't know if you guys are spoilers or love trailers or anything. I think I tended to avoid most things with the first two, but I've already watched the trailer for Ends. But I feel like they didn't give away a lot in the trailer for Ends anyway. So, but I am definitely excited, and I hope it's not a huge letdown.
Well, buddy, I'll tell you this. They didn't give away a bunch in that trailer. They actually gave almost nothing. And Christian and I have talked at lengths about the plot of Ends, this whole Corey Cunningham character and everything. We've gone down that rabbit hole. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a movie that's going to be you love it or you hate it. I don't really think there's going to be an in-between. But Christian over here, I think he's been trolling me about it because Halloween isn't his favorite franchise, but he's going, Halloween Ends is going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. I'm going to love it. It's going to be the best one of this trilogy. Christian, you still there?
Yeah. Why can't it be the best one? Brent, tell me why can't it be the best one out of the new three? Somebody tell me why.
Yeah, I mean,
could be.
Yeah, I think it has potential, but in the bar's already been set pretty high. So I think it's, given the rest of the franchise, you don't have to be the best movie to be pretty middle of the road for all of them,
Right.
So, but I think it will be good, and I think it will be fun, and we'll get to like watch all of them back to back to back, and that might be even a cooler experience, like
See
you
how
can
they
do with
play
like
together.
1 and 2,
Yeah.
So I guess I should ask you then your opinion. Do you want it finality? Like, what do you want to happen at the end? If this is really the end of everything for Jamie Lee, how do you want this to end?
I want finality, and there's no way that this is the last Halloween movie. It's too much of a moneymaker. So, like, I even love H2O with how that ended. Like, I'm like, well, there's an ending. It's good, and then you can, if we learn anything from movies, you can always reboot and all that. So we will get more Halloween. So let's get some finality to it. And she's already had her finality a couple times in the franchise. So
Yeah, no kidding.
who's to say she wouldn't? I don't think she will, but yeah, and with those, Danny McBride and David Gordon Green and those guys are, they're known for comedy. So when I heard those guys were doing it, I was like, man, I don't know how this is gonna go. It's like if you heard Shaq was gonna start making sandwiches, you'd be like, why? But those guys have done a great job, and I like their other stuff that they've done. And it's like we could talk about this, but like comedians are, I think, do a good job with comedy because they're similar. Like horror is really like a representation of current society. Some movie, not all movies, and that's what comedy does. It kind of reflects society. So I think there's two parallels with those things of, you can look at the Iraq War and all that stuff, and all that you would see videos of torture and stuff, and then you would get the Saw movies and Hostel and all that. It was kind of a parallel type thing to that. So yeah, I think they're going to do a good job. I don't know why they wouldn't. There's so much pressure. It's rare. It's like some of those Marvel movies. Some are okay, but I'm like, so many hands in the stuff to be terrible. It might be okay, but it won't be bad,
Well, I guess I'll ask you. Hot seat, least favorite Halloween movie, and why?
Maybe Resurrection or Halloween 6.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think anybody thinks a hot take that Resurrection is my least favorite or anybody's, but Halloween 6, and now I get them confused with the producer's cut and the theatrical cut. but I think it's the producer's cut of Michael is going to rape a child or something to have a baby, or he had sex with his niece or something like that. Where I was like, I don't, in my head, Michael Myers doesn't have sex to begin with. Like, that's not a thing that he does. So, yeah, and I just don't think it's the best. You could also say Halloween 2. I was talking with Gavin this on the podcast recently. I've watched Halloween 2 a bunch to try and, yeah, I know you have the poster right there, to just try and understand. Like,
I was wondering which Halloween 2 you were talking about to begin with, because there's technically like 3 of them.
Yeah. Rob Zombies. And I don't hate everything about that one in particular, but I could also see why people hate it. It's
our last episode last week was Christian and I just for 2 hours pouring love on that movie. And we went live because we really wanted people to come at us in the live chat, and they did, buddy. Let me tell you. But
yeah,
it's funny because Christian and I both big fans of Halloween 6 and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and that's what's so great I think about this franchise. It's like Jamie Lee made that joke a couple years ago about, well, Halloween's like choose your own adventure, you know, like you can go down many different paths and there's one for everyone. I think that's something that's really cool about this series, is that like we all love Michael Myers. We love that character. And it's like some of us prefer like this timeline and some of us prefer this iteration. But like at the end of the day, it's all kind of the same thing. It's just like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is like, you smoked peyote and, you know, and watched a fucking crazy movie for an hour and 45 minutes. And then Halloween 6 is like, I don't know, you got drunk with your buddies listening to Creed in your pickup truck and wanted to watch a great 90s, like, I don't know, you know.
Creed's H2O.
Yeah, Creed is H2O, but like, I'm just saying, yeah, you're right. It was Brother Kane and Fools Shine On, which they had to put literally on the poster. It literally says that song is in the movie.
Fucking best part about the movie. Love that song.
But yeah,
and there are like things to like about both those movies too. Especially like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, like the look of Myers, and both of them actually, like that's a menacing. I don't think he's looked scarier than in those movies. Like it's hard to tell, but like I have a custom Michael Myers figures right there. You can't tell because I'm shitty with the camera.
You're good.
But
damn, nice.
Very cool.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff. And you can there's something to appreciate about all of it, you know, like Halloween 5, the cops suck. The music sucks for the cops. But like, yeah, Michael's lurking in that movie is, I love when he lurks. Like that's part of the charm of that character.
It's good shit.
Even when you watch Halloween 1, John Carpenter, I'm still looking in the back. I don't think I found them all, and it's like a Where's Waldo, but I'm also like, he's somewhere back there. He's got to be, you know.
That's everywhere in Halloween 5. I mean, still, last time I watched it with Christian, I believe on the episode I pointed out, like, holy shit, Michael's back there. I've seen the movie 100 times, and there's little moments like that, especially in 5. I think 5 probably got it best since the original, of like him lurking and being off in the distance and you not noticing that. Also, Christian and I really dig that movie too, because Christian says it's an art film. I mean, it's got that.
I think it's an Italian. That's Brandon that calls it. I don't know if art house.
You're right.
Is the right
You're
word.
right.
I think it's like an Italian. It's almost like a giallo. The characters are like weird English translation. Like Loomis feels like he's straight out of an Italian giallo film. He's quirky and mad and drunk. And it to me it's so much like an Italian movie.
Using a child as bait, like in half of it. Like.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Well, I mean, where do you want to go next, Christian? You want to talk some Nightmare with him?
Well, I'd love to know about your collecting, because you have a gorgeous. What do you show me?
Show you. I don't know if it'll pick up on like so
MTV Cribs.
That's like some Halloween stuff that I have right there, and then like I have the Toonie Terrors. I'm not good like directing with this camera. But I have a bunch of stuff in here, so
your displays are very nice.
Thank you.
Little lights under there, and
and I have like art. I love like Metallica's my favorite band, so that's not horror.
Yeah,
fuck yeah.
My favorite band too.
Okay, cool. That's Bigfoot signed
by
the guy that took the picture, and
I was gonna say you got Bigfoot's autograph.
I know, yeah. I've got Polly Walnuts from The Sopranos signed.
Oh, nice.
And I'm not like a big signature guy, but I bought that on eBay. So got Friday 13th, Jason,
Video
I've got a
game?
bunch of Jasons here too. My lighting sucks for this stuff. Just showing.
Gorgeous.
This is I have a guy that somebody sent me that has nothing to do with anything, but he's naked.
Yeah, I love it. That was beautiful.
But yeah, I have
Tell
a
me
bunch
send me
of.
one.
This is my office comedy. I have a green screen over here to my right. So,
And
I'm
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You can finish. You're saying it was just
I was
your
just saying
office and
this is
everything?
my creative area. This
Sure.
When we bought this house, this lady did hair. This is like a converted garage, and she was like a 90-year-old lady that still did people's hair.
Uh-huh.
So this used to be like a salon, and now it's like my horror room.
Now, is
Nice.
that all by your choosing, or was that also your wife saying keep all your shit in one room?
Well, some of this stuff is hers too, but it's just I've taken it over. The rest of our house is kind of mid-century modern. We have touches of horror stuff all over the house because she's a big horror fan too. You know, she loves Elvira. We met Elvira, and she loves Trick or Treat. So we share that. That's a good thing. You know, is we share our love of horror.
Well, Christian has a very similar setup where he's allowed to put that stuff throughout his house.
Mm-hmm.
It's no secret to anybody that listens to our stuff, but my wife and I are currently separated right now, have been for a few months. So I was able to finally bring all this shit out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was not about it. She loves horror. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But her thing was like, I don't want it. Like it makes it seem like a bachelor pad.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, but it's a cool bachelor pad, right? Like, but I couldn't get her on board with that.
I was talking to Gavin about this, my co-host on the podcast. We were talking like having a Jaws poster in the living room is different than having the Scream poster, because Jaws is kind of like accessible horror, and some people would even call that horror. So you can kind of trick people and just being like, oh, he loves films, as opposed to he loves horror films.
Yeah.
It's that weird dynamic of that movie, at least,
Christian, you have a Jaws bathroom, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I have a Jaws the Revenge poster in my
Nice. We have a Twilight Zone poster, and it's like a mashup of, I guess, every Twilight Zone episode. So I'll be getting out of the shower and be like, I have no idea what that episode is even from, but it's a big it's like a town square filled with all the stuff from the Twilight Zone,
Yeah.
I noticed you had a Ghost shirt on. You're a big fan.
Yeah, I like Ghost, the band, and it's just for the I like the music just in general, but the theatrics and kind of the gimmick of when you look at this band, they don't particularly sound like how they look, you know.
You haven't seen them live, have you?
Yeah, I've saw them twice. I saw them open up for Iron Maiden, and then I saw them do a headline show.
Oh, tell me about them as a group, as a band. How tight are they and all that? I'd love to see them.
Yeah, they were great, and I think it's you need the one guy to be the singer, I don't remember his name now, but you essentially just need him, because the rest of the people, if you don't know the band, the gimmick is like the leader is some form of like a demonic pope, and then the rest are quote.
I just learned that last week.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Yeah, like the rest of the band is nameless ghouls.
Yeah, nameless ghouls.
So they wear masks, so you can't tell who's who. But they're really good. The theatrics are good, it's kind of like a church setting for the two times I've seen them.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah,
the stained glass wall and everything. Tobias Forge is the singer, and
Yeah.
he's public. And I think actually some of the band have now revealed themselves too. The bass player is like this really tall, skinny guy with black hair, but they're probably my favorite modern band. I was a massive Him fan.
Okay.
And when they stopped playing around 2013, when they retired, Ghost came into my life at the perfect time. They were the successor of almost like that really moody gothic keyboard rock, and I'm such a diehard fan. So I'm glad you were wearing that shirt. I think they're one of the best songwriting bands today. I mean, their stuff is so immaculate. I mean,
and if you didn't know the gimmick, you can appreciate, because I think there was going viral on TikTok for like a bunch of Christians using one of their songs, but not understanding. It's kind of my videos, people using the video, but not understanding what it's really saying,
Hey, as long as they're using the videos, right?
Hey man, whatever works.
Yeah. I mean, I dug them. I didn't hear anything from them until Hunter's Moon, obviously. And Christian and I went down this rabbit hole, like dissecting the lyrics of Hunter's Moon the week before Halloween Kills came out. We're like, oh my God, what does this song mean? Does it have something to do with the movie? Come to find out it didn't. Bummer. But it's a great song. And I was raised Christian. I still am, but I don't really practice. I don't go to church or anything like that.
I'm
So
former Catholic, so went to
Yeah.
Catholic schools, and
yeah, but so it's
Ditto.
like, and when I found out, like, oh my God, he's like a demonic pope, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's cool. Like, it is cool.
yeah, it's a what a gimmick. It's it's that along the lines of a Slipknot or
Mhm.
people that it's a full show with
Fucking
costumes.
Gwar.
And,
Y'all
yeah,
remember
that kind of
Gwar,
stuff.
yeah.
It is weird how metal and horror really pairs well. They're kind of similar genres. They cover the same type of shit.
Well,
Mhm.
Christian already put his stick in the ground saying there needs to be another ghost song for Halloween Ends.
I
or
said
he's gonna-
Halloween Kills is better if Halloween Ends does not have another ghost song.
yeah.
I mean, how great was that having? And not only that, we got 2 versions of Hunter's Moon: the movie
Mhm.
version and the EP or the single and the album version.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I remember when I was watching the movie. I'm sure you're probably the same way. You probably already heard the song because it got released, and then you're watching the credits. You're like, "Holy shit, this is a different mix. This is
Yeah.
fucking awesome!" You know?
Yeah, and
So-
I do that with Metallica too. Of like, I was on a podcast with a friend of mine. It was top 5 Metallica songs, and I was like, I like this one, but I need I need this live version of that song. So that's like fun to like have those. Like you can be Surface fans, or you can talk about different versions of certain things.
Feet to the Fire again, I guess. Best Metallica album.
Saint Anger. No, I'm just joking. I do love Saint Anger. by
So
the
do I.
way.
Christian gives me shit about it.
Yeah.
I'm
They-
sorry,
but-
those drums sound like Bob Rock created the greatest drum sound. He also created the worst drum sound ever.
That was one, at least for Saint Anger. It was like I heard it during formative years, so it's like
When you were angry and all
Yeah.
the lyrics are angry.
Mhm.
So me being a teenager when that came out, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm angry. I want to break stuff too.
Yeah.
That's why I love that album.
yeah, I can relate for sure. But probably Master of Puppets, or I do enjoy Injustice for All.
I
like
say
both
Ride the
those.
Lightning. What
Okay,
about you,
and-
Christian?
I'm a bigger Anthrax and Megadeth fan. Y'all can have Metallica.
No, but if you had to pick a favorite album of theirs.
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I really like the latest one. I do like the latest album
Oh,
that came out.
Hardwired's great.
But probably, yeah, that Moth to Flame song's really good. I guess I would go Master of Puppets. I like Master of Puppets.
Yeah,
I'm the odd man out here then.
But
okay.
I'm not a diehard
I mean, they
Metallica fan.
They haven't put out albums that I haven't pretty much liked front to back. I mean, the only 2 albums of theirs that I don't like front to back are probably Load and Reload. They have good songs on them, but I don't think the albums altogether are good. But like every other album, I'm like, I can pretty much listen front to back and be like, that was good.
you gotta wonder like when bands will do that. It's essentially a double album. You wonder if you just trimmed the fat. If this could have been like if there was Hero of the Day and then King Nothing and until it's like all the hits, you're like, but that doesn't. Then you're just cutting your sales in half if you put all the hits on one.
As
why
I was
would you
gonna
do
say,
that?
you're Metallica. You don't trim the fat on records because people are
No.
gonna buy them in the '90s still, right?
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, then let's jump right into something you were talking about. Brent, I want to know, Christian's more well-versed in this franchise than Halloween because he prefers it. Friday the 13th, man. I mean, what are your, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that series as a whole? What's your favorite movie there?
Yeah, I don't know it's my favorite, but I've had a greater appreciation the past few years for Friday 5, which is
Oh, that's right.
the one. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you're aware, like the one without Jason. But to me, if you didn't know it till the end, that's still Jason. But it's what a funny movie that is with the just the characters, especially the one paramedic guy that does coke outside the diner. Like his performance is, you could just
Hysterical.
rewind that. Yeah,
It's hysterical.
watch that. And yeah, I think that one catches too much shit. I think it's pretty good, but I think like 1 through 6 are really good. I think 7 with was it the New Blood, or that's not the
New Blood.
New Blood?
Yep.
Yeah, that's maybe the best looking Jason. is where he's half zombie type thing. Yeah, I don't really like Manhattan. I don't like
Goes to
what's
Hell,
the other
Jason
goes to
X.
those
Jason X
three.
is fun. I used to hate
Yeah,
that
that would be a
movie.
fun movie, but it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I think you watch that with friends. That's not one where I sit and watch it by myself. You know.
No, yeah. Well, that's what
Uh,
we did for Halloween Resurrection. We watched it on the podcast. I hadn't watched it in 3 years, and
Mhm.
Christian, we came away with it with the same thing. I'd never watched this under my own volition just because I wanted to. But when you watch it with a friend and you're
It's
you know
fun.
getting drunk or whatever, it's like this is fun. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a Halloween movie, I think it's a great concept for a movie. If
Mhm.
it just wasn't Michael Myers,
Yeah.
that concept of having a half game show type thing. And if it wasn't Michael Myers, I would love Busta Rhymes and more horror movies.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Well, Christian, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you're happy to hear that he likes part 5, but disappointed to hear that he doesn't like Takes Manhattan.
Not disappointed because I love it when people have just their own opinion about
Mhm.
something that is unwarranted. So it's like I whenever he's starting to talk about what he doesn't like, I don't want you to be like,
Oh,
but
fuck yeah.
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it says take your best shot, motherfucker.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I don't think any of those are like the worst, but maybe I've seen a lot of bad horror movies. So like even the worst of those, I'm like, oh, it's better than Thanksgiving. You know,
Oh man.
The only thing that's one of my dad's favorite horror movies.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. The only
Yeah.
thing with Friday for me was it wasn't until a few years ago that I really, really, really started falling in love with part 1. I actually
Yeah.
think it's like some of the complaints that I do hear is, oh, it's slow. You watch Alice make coffee, and I'm like, you don't get it. Like that is pure, genuine human action and suspense and just atmosphere. I would die for movies. I mean, A24 kind of does that with stuff nowadays. I would die for movies that have that kind of quiet pace and stuff because everything nowadays moves like a TikTok video, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just
And that's I'm rewired from the internet. Sometimes I'm like, God, it's so slow, but it's exactly what you're saying is that's just actually what people do. That's somebody being a human being.
No,
And
you hear this generation bitch about movies like Halloween all the time about how like the original, like it's so boring, it's so slow, and it's like you just don't get it. Like you just don't get it. It's foreboding. It's building up to at final 15 minutes that are just nonstop. And like
yeah,
we get off on that. That stuff is so cool. Like to really build it up because nowadays it's just like we'll give it to you right at the beginning and then it loses its punch after 10 minutes and you're just like, oh, okay, whatever, like you guys can't, you've already reached your peak. So
but also I'm that way too. Like if I saw maybe like a movie that came out in 78 that wasn't Halloween that I've never seen before, I will be like, this is slow. But also it could be similarly paced to Halloween, but I love Halloween, you know. I think as a society we want it now.
Yeah.
And now it's
100%.
not even fast enough. I needed it before the now, you know, like
yeah, I was having a conversation with my friends about this. Like, isn't there something, and this is like a TV thing, but isn't there something that people don't understand about like you had to wait a week and you had to build up so much goddamn anticipation to see the next episode of fucking Supernatural or name a TV show you grew up watching.
Lost.
You had to wait 6 fucking days and just get yourself amped up. People don't understand that anymore because of the way Netflix is.
Yeah.
And they drop a season. I like that. I'm not saying I dislike that because I'm an impatient son of a bitch now. But dude, like, I think that's how, like, that's why I feel like some people don't get connected to the stuff like generations before us and even our generation did, because we had to envelop our life in it. We had to plan stuff. Oh my God, Rose Red is coming on TV Tuesday and Wednesday night. Holy shit, we have got to get ready. We have to clear our schedules. You don't do that anymore. And I think that element of planning and stuff like that, that's like connective tissue that's gone nowadays because of how ease of access everything is nowadays. And I just don't think that ease of access is always just a good thing. I think we, and some sites are doing this, like Creepshow on Shudder. It's like 1 episode a week. They drop one, and I like that. I like that format because it gives you something to look forward to, and you're excited.
Obi-Wan Kenobi on
boom.
Disney Plus was the same way. Obi-Wan. I wanted all of them to drop once, but at the same time I didn't because it gave me 6 weeks of anticipation every week. Yes, like when the fuck are Darth Vader and Obi-Wan gonna fight again? I need this shit, and they made you wait. And that would
And we also we talk about that moment. If you left on a cliffhanger, now you're talking for a week and you're on Reddit and you're reading what everybody's thoughts are, as opposed to it goes through you like bad tacos, where you're like, they were good, but at the end, if somebody would be like, if you watched a whole series and then 6 months later they'd be like, tell me about the ending, and you'd be like, I don't even remember. I know it was good, but I couldn't tell you what happened. Yeah. It's like you consume it so quickly, and I do that all the time, you know?
It's to that same point. Stranger Things is a perfect example of that. I love Stranger Things. I have since it started. Christian's a big fan too, especially of season 4. I think that was the best season, but it's like now I remember on Fridays and Saturdays, I work 12-hour shifts. Those are my long days of the week. So it dropped that Thursday night, technically Friday morning. And these people were binging it all night. And I get on Twitter and I'm already seeing spoilers. And I'm like, dude, so it's like we've gotten to a point where when a show does that, we feel the need. We have to watch it all. Like we have to, and then we have to find people to talk about it with online. So it's like if you're trying to avoid spoilers nowadays, you got to catch it within the first few days or it's ruined for you. I mean,
with wrestling, I'm a big wrestling fan. Sometimes I don't always catch a pay-per-view.
So is Christian.
So it's like I might watch it on a Monday if it aired on Sunday, but I'm like I cautiously scrolling because I don't want to see a guy holding up a championship and then be like, well, I'll still watch the match, but I know he won, you know.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy nowadays is when you pull up just Safari on your phone and you go to Google, now they have headline articles like on the home screen below where you type in what you're looking for. And sometimes it's like, it's hard to avoid spoilers, even just when you pull up the goddamn internet.
Yeah.
You know, there'll be like an article right there on your home screen of Roman Reigns, whatever. Like, it's like, oh, fuck. God damn.
Even like Stranger Things, I've only seen the first 2 seasons and I liked it. It just, for whatever reason, I haven't. But I know like Master of Puppets had a huge thing happen in this latest season, and I kind of know what happened. But it's also like I haven't even watched the last 2 seasons, but I still kind of know, you know?
Dude, as a Metallica fan, though, I'm telling you, when you finally get to season 4 and you watch that moment, that is like peak cinema. Like I literally tweeted about it as I was watching it. I was like, that's one of the greatest things I've ever seen on television. Like, it was just fucking awesome. Like the mood was perfect. It was fucking amazing. So I hope you get around to that because as somebody that loves Metallica, you'll probably be sitting there for those 3 minutes just like, can life get better than this? It's seriously like that. But all right, well then let's dive a little bit into Freddy Krueger. All right, because this is Christian's guy. So if you were to ask Christian what the best nightmare movie is, Christian, what do you tell people?
Part 2 is my favorite.
Freddy's Revenge. I agree. Brent, I don't know. I'm sure you've seen all the nightmare movies. We all have, but like, what's the one that you gravitate towards most?
Well, I've seen them all at least once. I've seen 1, 2, and 3 maybe a couple times. That's my least favorite franchise for whatever reason. I think 2, he looks the best besides A New Nightmare. The look is great. But I would probably just say, you know, for me not having seen all of them multiple times, it's just the first one. And I don't think it's out yet, but we covered Nightmare on Elm Street on the podcast this season. And I was like, I like this movie, but every time I watch it, I'm like, man, this is such a good movie for being at least my least favorite of the big 3 franchise.
Now, why do you think that is? Like, is it Freddy? Because I would say that of the big 3, obviously it's Freddy has the most personality because he's the only one that fucking talks. But, I mean, what do you think?
Songs and
Michael talks,
dude. Yeah, no, yeah, his rap songs. Christian has that on vinyl, don't you, Christian? Freddy's raps or whatever.
I've got it all north, south, east, and west, baby.
Yeah. But I mean, what do you think that is?
I don't know what it was about. Maybe it was just the one I was do they play those on AMC during Halloween, or like back in the day? Did they?
Not as much.
Freddy was
Okay.
Freddy was a sci-fi channel guy, and like
Yeah.
the
Okay.
last 10 years, I used to always see him on sci-fi.
Yeah,
And
maybe
not just
that was
that,
part of it. Was just
but I feel
seeing it on TV. You know.
I feel like it's also, you guys know this. Y'all remember AMC Monster Fest or Fear Fest, whatever they called
Yeah.
it, and they would play every Halloween movie. They would
Mhm.
play, most of these big franchises, but the Nightmare movies, they didn't play everyone. They'd play
Yeah.
part 1, they'd play part 3, maybe part 4, and then like New Nightmare. But like you're not seeing your Dream Child, your Freddy's Revenge, your Freddy's Dead on there,
Mhm.
and whatever, for whatever reason that is. But so I get what you mean. Maybe it was less exposure to the movies and the character itself, but
Yeah.
it's crazy because we didn't live through that time. Because Christian will have everybody know. I mean, he knows more about this franchise than anybody I've ever talked
Mhm.
to. And Freddy ruled the 80s. I mean, MTV
Yeah.
Freddy.
Yeah,
Right,
he was.
Christian?
Yeah, it's odd in a sense because I talked to people that were alive and well back then, and it wasn't even close. I mean, the part 4 made more money than Halloween 4 and New Blood together. So it's like it's crazy when you look at the latter part of the 80s. He was on top of the world. Doesn't even begin to describe it.
Yeah.
But it seems
Maybe.
like Michael and Freddie have kind of, to me Friday's the biggest. When I talk to X number of people, to me it's Fridays seems to be like the fan favorite of the world. I seem like that's what I see the most of. So,
Do
but
you?
Freddy's,
What do you?
it's
What
not
do you?
Freddy.
What do you attribute the Friday being like? Just the look? Do you think it was the hockey mask that kind of took
Probably.
off?
Well, without question. I mean,
Mhm.
it's Jason. I think the name
Yeah.
Jason. It's like it's almost funny if you say Jason Voorhees, people will say, "Huh?" But if you just say Jason, oh,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
they know the first name. Like I do that for people at work, and like Jason, what? No,
Yeah.
Jason. Jason, hockey mask guy. Yeah,
Mhm.
I just
E-
think it's so fucking accessible, man. It's so red, white, and blue. It's a
Everybody
fucking,
went to a summer camp, or everybody went to a swimming at a fucking like lake or a pond. Like we all did that shit. But
Mhm.
I've always said that too, Brent. What I've told Christian is I won't necessarily disagree with that statement. I think that Halloween is a bigger series, but I think that that hockey mask is more identifiable than anything in any of these franchises. It's like
Mhm.
everybody knows that, but I would say the Halloween theme is probably bigger than anything in any of these franchises. Like everybody knows that shit. My grandma that's never watched one of those movies, like, oh, that's that Michael Myers theme. It's like,
Yeah.
it's funny how certain things stick out. Like Freddy Krueger, what do people remember probably the most at all the Nightmare movies? It's the glove. It's
Mhm.
not even necessarily him.
well,
It's
or the 1, 2
yes.
Freddy's, that too. There's a lot of layers on that onion. You know.
The sweat, you could see the silhouette of at least Freddy and pick him out. You
Mhm.
know, all
It's that damn
three.
hat and sweater. That damn hat and
Yeah.
sweater.
Yeah. I don't. Maybe it was like the latter. Like Freddie lended himself to be the MTV guy, because Michael Myers, that you would destroy the character if Michael Myers was on MTV or a reality show, you
Sure.
know, with Buster Rhymes. Uh,
Motherfucker.
yeah, and like with Jason, I think it's the same thing as like there's jokes in Friday the franchise, but then it got funny and Nightmare, you know.
Mhm.
And I think some people don't like that, but maybe that's how that franchise had to go a little bit, was to be more accessible, because I don't how much more scary can you get, you
Well,
know?
Be damned if you do, damned if you don't, man.
I would argue that you're absolutely right. I mean, when you started to see Freddy at his peak in the late 80s, that's when Halloween and Friday were trending downward. And I
Mhm.
think that the reason was Freddy had so much character to him. They leaned into their better impulses of, we need this guy to resonate with these teens. We need him to be funny. But we
Mhm.
also need him to be menacing, and let's put him out there, overexpose the world to him. And so, yeah, I mean, I can imagine what, 1989 was like, whereas like you're seeing Freddy on fucking MTV, and whereas,
Dolls.
yeah. And oh my God, merchandising, dude, it was probably through the roof, because 89, we had What do we have in 89? Christian Takes Manhattan and Halloween 5. Not exactly big critical or commercial successes. So yeah, Freddy was up here while the other guys were kind of trending
Well,
down.
even Dream Child, which didn't do as good as Master, still just butt effed. You know, Jason Takes Manhattan and Halloween 5 in the box office. Like it wasn't even close.
No, Halloween 5 made like $11 million.
Yeah, like that was
So,
like the opening weekend for Dream Child. So it's just
Yeah.
it's interesting when I look at it, but you know, I feel like the Freddy fanatics are it's like 2-1 Halloween or Friday compared to Nightmare. Doesn't bother me.
If there's a fourth guy that you add to there, is it
Leatherface?
Is it Leatherface? But
Yeah,
okay.
I can't in good conscience, but I love Chucky. But come on,
it's Leatherface or Ghostface for me.
Yeah. It's then certain people. I've only seen Hellraiser, the first one, and I didn't like it. But was years
Second
ago.
one's better. Second one's
Okay.
better.
Yeah, there's certain people that like those certain. I feel like if you like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you love the Rob Zombie movies. Like they lend themselves to liking each other. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Brent, you said you're born in 89, so you're a few years older than me. What are you? You're 32, 33?
33. Yeah.
33. I went to Texas Frightmare this past year, and they had the Scream cast there. They had the main people, Skeet, Nev, what have you. In the other room, I call it the B room. The other room, there were these legendary people still alive from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, things like that. There was nobody in line for them, but Nev Campbell had a line almost outside of the entire airport.
Yeah.
Does it seem like to you as well when you look at things like Scream is like the new Halloween? Like we're not the cool kids anymore. Halloween, it's like that's the old people's movie now, despite the fact that there's no one. It's like to me, it seems like Scream is the new golden movie for horror for people because of the lines for these people in the Scream movies. They were kids. You know, it's like, have you noticed that too? To me, it's just like it's apparent. Like Scream is it now. That's the new Halloween.
Well, and it's they're making new Halloweens, but I feel like it's the most recent franchise. And Gavin, even and I, we talked about on the show. We felt like Scream is the most solid front to back currently. Like 3 was okay, but it's still better than a lot of the other franchises duds. And also like Nev Campbell is they're stars, but they're not only stars from Scream. Matthew Lillard has Scooby-Doo and other movies, and Jamie Kennedy,
he has a lot of shit going on.
Yeah. Nev Campbell, or what was a Party 5, whatever the show, I don't remember, but she's done other things, and maybe like a TCM. It's like maybe those stars are only stars for TCM. Maybe I'd have to look it up.
I think it also goes back to the point we made, a half hour or so ago, where it's just like this new generation sometimes just doesn't seem to appreciate what came before. It's like the hot new toy, like, Scream is a franchise that's always done really well. Part of what it's predicated on is capitalizing on what's popular and satirizing it and being really like meta and forward thinking. And it's like, so it really captures whatever generation it's trying to capture at the time when a movie comes out. It's amazing to me that Scream 5 had the impact it did, same as Scream 2 did, or Scream did, or even Scream 4, but to a lesser extent. It's like people were banging on the table for a decade to get Hayden Panettiere back as Kirby, and Scream 4 was the least successful of all of them, but it still reached enough people in that generation. They wanted her back. They would, and we're getting her back. And it's just like, I think that's also part of it. Is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a movie that I do feel like personally, I feel like it's not as timeless in the sense of like, I don't think it's dated. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that it's like, if you got a 16-year-old kid to sit down and watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre right now, I think a lot of them would be like, what is this? Like, what's the appeal of this? And they'd be wrong in feeling that way, but it's just different. I guess Scream it tries to reach out to these young kids.
Well, by comparison, that movie moves like a freight train compared to
it's like 80 minutes or some shit, 85 minutes. It's fucking wild.
But the opening almost feels like it plays on fast forward. I think it's like a TikTok movie for today. it's a perfect storm of why young kids love it now.
And you're talking about Scream, right?
Scream.
Yeah, that's the first 13 minutes is
it's like a bullet train. It's just,
yeah.
I think that's why it resonates. Part of it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting though. It's like, what's going to be after that? What's going to be the next Scream for kids? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go back to war and it'll be Saw again. You know,
well,
or
I was
maybe
going to
it'll be
say,
Hostel.
we forget that for the decade previous, it was Saw. Saw was the new kid on the block that became comparable to Freddy, Jason, and Michael. You know, I would say Jigsaw, John Kramer, Tobin Bell is incredibly identifiable to all of us. You're not going to think of Tobin Bell for the rest of his life as anything but Jigsaw, first and foremost.
Yeah,
I didn't even know he acted in anything else.
I
had no
know,
idea
right?
he's been in movies since fucking like. 70.
And like, yeah, I'm wearing a Saw shirt right now, and it's like and they just announced the 10th one, and you know it's gonna bring back Tobin Bell, and it's gonna go back. It's not gonna be. It's a prequel, but it's not because it takes place before he died, but it's going to take place after the first two movies. It's supposed to be between 2 and 3. I mean, Brent, your thoughts on that? I mean, were you a fan of the Saw movies?
Yeah, I like them, and I like if you said what happened in Saw 3, 4, 5, and whatever, I couldn't tell you what happened in each one. I know there at one point there's a guy on an ice block.
Wow, Donnie Wahlberg, man, he deserves so much better.
Where it was like, I like those movies, but I feel like to me those movies all kind of clash together. But I do think they're good, you know. But the reveal in Saw, the first one, could be one of the biggest reveals in a movie ever, you know. And what a mistake to kill off Jigsaw, because I love that character. And now I'm like, how much pre-planning could you have done?
No, exactly. You know? They're getting long in the tooth at this point, and I think that's why they're going back to Jigsaw, because they're like, dude, we got to a point where it was like, he's got 8 apprentices now. These games happened 10 years ago. This is getting way too fucking crazy.
Brent, I say this all the time. For me, Saw was like my generation's Friday the 13th, in the sense that every year, and you went to the theater to see it. Were you the same way? Because I think since part 3, I was at the theater every single time. Since part 3, I saw everyone. Were you the same way? Did you look forward every October to go to the theater to see them?
Those, and then there were not so much the Paranormal Activities, but those are like with Jigsaw, there's like a guy you can attach to, but with Paranormal Activity, there's not like a mascot. You know, Iron Maiden has Eddie.
Yeah.
There's not like a guy you can attach to, and I'm trying to. I've like recently.
I just love I love like when you don't get me wrong, I love original IPs and finding new movies that I could just fall in love with all the time. But I love it when something catches fire.
Yeah.
And Paramount's the best at it.
Paranormal
Activity was never supposed to be a franchise, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Saw a little bit more, but Paranormal Activity, it's like, really? But man, every fucking year, I couldn't wait. And then they kind of trampled Saw. Paranormal Activity started trampling them. And they were whipping their ass in the box office, and then Paranormal, and I ate it up. I was at the theater every single time. I'm a fan of that, man. I just love it when we get a franchise, and it's like the familiarity of it. It's like comfort food in a sense. Yeah, it doesn't mean I don't want original stuff. Believe me, I love it, and I look for it. I go to my way to find it. But are you the same way? Do you like it when something catches fire and we get more and more of it?
Yeah, you know, if something's great, you always want more of it. You know, and it's but then sometimes you like, if you don't think it's good, you're like, why are they making this shit? But obviously somebody loves it, especially if it's Paranormal Activity or whatever it is, and sometimes you miss the boat on a whole phenomenon, and then you have to go back and be like, you know what, this wasn't so bad, you know, like
time heals all wounds with these movies too. I think it's interesting. Even especially with horror, it's like we were talking about Scream 4 before. I'm sorry to cut you up, but like with Scream 4, it wasn't a smash success. But guess what? Every year, more kids become Scream fans, and more people become fans of it. That's why people want that broad back in that movie. They love it, you know.
And it's one of those, like you said, it's like you're commenting on the current. So now you can go back, and we just did Scream for the podcast, and it was like, you know, when somebody says cellular telephone, like you're going back and you're like, this didn't age well, but that's also part of the charm of it, is certain things, and you could watch an evolution of this character, the storyline, but also especially in that the technology, you know. That's why
And that's one thing that people say Scream 4 made a mistake with, was commenting on remakes after the remake craze had kind of died down. They came in a little bit too late on the remake craze, and maybe that's why that movie didn't take off. If Scream 4 had come out in like 2008 or 2009, I think it would have done a lot better. But it came out in 2011 after the big three had already been resurrected. Texas Chainsaw had been resurrected. It's like, okay, yeah, but remakes are kind of getting played out at this point. But it is, in a sense, a time capsule. You go back and watch these movies, and it's like, I'm sure someone that was a teenager in the 90s when they watched Scream, it's just like fucking nostalgia on 11. I mean, just like, yeah.
And even with like when their vampires were hot for a while, but even the leading vampires weren't really horror. It was
Twilight,
where it was like, it's the same, it's horror the same way the Munsters is horror. Like it was like dealing with horror elements, but wasn't scary, and it's that was a phenomenon for a while. And that, like, when I was a kid, it was definitely zombies. Everything had zombies, and I love zombies, but even at the end of it, I was like, we've seen enough zombie stuff, man. We don't need any more zombies right now,
Yeah, and at the tail end of it, there's a fucking show called Walking Dead that starts, right?
Oh,
The
yeah.
motherfucker's still going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still, and it's a great show. I'm not up to date, but I'm in the current season or whatever, and I still like it,
Funny thing about that, I watched the debut episode back in 2010 with my friends. And I didn't hate it, but I was like, this is good. Never watched another episode ever again. Literally like 3 weeks ago, Netflix had Walking Dead on there, and I started watching it. I was like, holy shit. Like 4 or 5 episodes in, Henry, the Portrait of a Serial Killer guy is in it. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, this is kind of cool. My big thing with zombie films is if the zombie is your main attraction for a movie, to me, that's dead. You're dead in the water. Like the Return of the Dead is obviously just beautiful punk aesthetic movie, and Day of the Dead is claustrophobia, not trusting each other. Like, you got to have something else besides that.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that that Walking Dead's, it's not just about zombie. Like, there's a lot of inner turmoil, that I'm giving it a chance. And I kind of feel sad. They had some gorgeous physical media releases of Walking Dead with like this barrel thing. I used to see it all the time. I was like, fuck that shit. Now I'm like, I'm an idiot. I should have bought it just to put it on the shelf. It's gorgeous.
I would say it's more of a drama than it is a zombie show. And I lost interest. I fell out probably about 2 seasons after Negan came in, man, because nothing was happening with Negan, and I was like, you speed this up. Like, there has to be something here. And that's when I kind of fell out. And apparently that's when a lot of people fell out of that show. It was like, there needs to be some finality here with Negan, because we're just going back and forth for seasons. And people keep telling me to catch back up, because apparently this most recent season's really good. So,
and I had a long break of not what, and then I would just jump back into it. And maybe that's part of it, is fatigue with a series. And I just took a break, and I came back, and I was like, oh, this is still fun,
Dude, it's crazy when you look at a show and you go, like, fatigue is real. When you've got 10, 11 seasons, I mean, we're talking hundreds of hours of something. Like, telling someone now, hey, you should start The Walking Dead. There's 11 seasons. It's going to take you months, unless you're in the middle of a lockdown, which isn't happening anymore. So that's a fucking big thing to take on.
Yeah, like that's the people are like, have you seen? Usually people are like, have you seen this? And I'm like, no. I watched Game of Thrones finally during the lockdown or whatever, but it was like, man, I'm so far behind that why even start now? I might as well just read the Wikipedia page for each episode, or listen to a podcast about it. I've not done that yet, but I considered, like, let me pick a show that I never even watched, but let me listen to the podcast companion and see if I can watch it that way. Quote.
Oh, I completely understand that. I mean, we got Brent for about 10 more minutes or so. We're not going to keep him too much longer, but Brent, I wanted to ask, I feel like we've worked up the timeline now to a perfect spot where Christian mentioned it a few minutes ago. What are your thoughts on A24? I mean, are you a fan of their horror output? Have you seen a lot of it? What are your thoughts there?
I have seen some of their movies, and now I'm blanking on every single one of them. Is Midsummer A24?
Yes.
Yeah, Midsommar, as I like to say, because I'm pretentious. Yes. I love that, and I love Hereditary. Hereditary is my favorite of the two, but I love those. I just watched his other like short film, the weird thing about the Johnsons, which is on YouTube for free.
Right.
Ari Aster. I I just like what he does with movies, and they really lend themselves to rewatches because you'll see things, not necessarily Michael lurking in the back type stuff, but you're like, oh, that makes total sense of why that happened, you know?
Well, dude, over the past decade, I've told Christian this. We've talked about it. We both prefer Hereditary as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's many things that have fucked me up as much as when Charlie's head got knocked off in
Oh,
Hereditary.
that was nobody was talking in the theater. I saw it in the theater. Nobody, and that was like on
That's
the
good. Nobody was talking.
yeah on the they're coming to get you. We have a segment or a thing of like, were there any oh shit moments? And that like maybe I'm desensitized and that doesn't happen a lot with me in movies, but I was like, oh shit, like because I didn't see that coming,
No.
and then to just knock this little girl's head off, woof, like crazy.
Not only that,
Real
Brent,
deal.
and by the way, when that happened, my jaw I was literally like dead serious. My wife was the same way. We were like, what the fuck? But not just that. 10 minutes later in the movie, when they show her head covered in ants, I'm like,
Yeah.
Jesus, that wasn't enough. You had to give me that too.
Yeah.
You talk
And
about
then-
a movie that messed you up.
And then to get Tony Collette, he's laying in bed and you just hear the wail. Like, why he does grief really well in different ways. And it's also like, I've not lost a kid because I don't have any, but it's also like just the dread you can feel in the movie. And then it's released with that. And you're like, oh my God, like I feel for this lady so much.
Yeah. And X, have you seen X?
Not yet, and I've avoided most things about it. I
Dude,
just
so good.
I've heard great things about it, and I just I don't want to pay $20 for it because the surest way for me for a movie to hit streaming is I buy it physically, a copy, and then tomorrow it will be on the streaming thing. And I'm just like, I can't do it anymore, even though I
Yeah.
still buy
So you're
physical copies of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, are you a semi-physical media guy then, or you just kind of get stuff that you're into, or?
Yeah, I just have if I really like the movie X, then I will probably buy it. But to me, like $20 is a gamble to like for a movie that I've heard good things about, but I don't know if I'm gonna like it. Yeah.
Yeah, not the idea of not blind buying. Yeah, I got over that too because I mean I have a lot of movies. Christian has even more than me. We both collect physical media, but I really got out of the blind buying business a couple of years ago because it totally relatable. I mean, if you're going to go spend $20, $25 on something that you're not sure about, that's why I usually go to the theater. And if I like it in the theater, I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy that. But the reason I ask is because I think you got to check it out because Pearl, the prequel, comes out next month. And X is, I mean, Christian and I were both very, very high on that movie. I mean, and I think that if you're into that, Ty West has a style. It's very slow burn. He's like a modern, he kind of is like a modern, not carpenter, but he has carpenter isms in the sense of like, he sets the table for you and it takes a while to get going. But when it really gets going, it really fucking gets going. I mean, his movie House of the Devil is probably my favorite movie of his. I don't know if you've seen it. It's so good.
I've only seen it once. I need to rewatch it, but I really like his movie. The Ritual, the kind of like the Jonestown type movie.
Oh, you're talking about The Sacrament. That's my favorite. Not even close. That's my favorite movie he's ever done. That movie's so fucking good.
It is
and
very. I really like it. Yeah,
that guy he got to play Jim Jones. Holy shit,
he's
that motherfucker was great.
The guy in No Country for Old Men that runs that store.
Right. Yeah, that movie's phenomenal. I'm glad you're a fan of that one, man. I'm a big found footage fan too. So I mean, to me, that's some of the best that genre has to offer.
Do you guys have any like new modern ones that you really have loved? It's almost like you would say are 10 out of 10s for you.
I mean, I said this earlier. For me, I think about Dr. Sleep. I think is the perfect way to do a sequel to a movie that, come on, Christian. It is a great sequel. Don't lie. Whether you think it's better or not. But also It and It Chapter 2, I think those are both like 10 out of 10 for me. I love both of those films. Christian, what do you think, Christian? What are some ones recently that really just fucking...
one of my favorite films I've I absolutely adored it was Men. Just came out from A24.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
thought
seen that yet, but
it's my second favorite A24 film. I don't think
Okay.
anything will ever top Hereditary, but I thought Men was absolutely phenomenal. Some of the
Okay.
best acting I've ever seen. It deals with real trauma,
mhm.
with suicide and stuff like that. They don't hold back emotionally in that movie. It's very daunting. Like, and that's
Okay.
the way Hereditary was. I thought that was amazing. I don't know. I'd have to. It's kind of hard to think of stuff off on the spot of some of the.
I have one that's not like ultra new, but new to me because like some guy came up to me after a show, knew I liked horror, and he said you should watch this movie, and it was Lake Mungo.
Oh
yeah.
man,
For me,
I've
like
I've
I'm
seen
not.
that.
Yeah, and I don't know how you feel about it, but it was like I watched it and I was like, this is a scary movie. Usually stuff doesn't really scare me, but and
It
that's not
gets in
me
your
being like,
bones.
yeah,
That
it is.
movie gets so deep into your bones. I love it.
Yeah.
People either love or hate that movie. That's like Session
hmm
9. I want to be a Session 9 fan. I just get bored by it, but people
I
tell me it's
tried
one
it.
of the
Yeah, I'm the same
greatest
way.
movies
Yeah.
ever. But Lake Mungo worked for me.
Yeah.
That movie fucked me up. I mean, you got to watch that movie, turn the lights out, get in
That's
a
how,
dark
yep.
room. That movie will creep into your fucking bones.
Mhm.
I'm a massive Lake Mungo fan.
Another
Awesome,
modern
dude.
one.
Fucking cool.
Yeah, that is a good one. Another modern one that I feel like does the same thing. And I've watched this twice. I wanted to watch it a second time to make sure I wasn't wrong in how I felt about it. The Dark and the Wicked.
Mhm.
Have you seen
100%.
that, Brent?
Yeah, I did like it.
That movie also with how it deals with loss and whatnot, but it's really unsettling. Like it just
Mhm.
is a very heavy movie watching that. You're just like, fuck. And then you add floating dead grandma ladies, and it's just like, oh my God. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was great.
Phenomenal movie. And that came out right during the pandemic, I think,
Mhm.
too. So it
Yeah.
really preyed on
That's the guy that
that
did The
movie is
Strangers, I
phenomenal.
think, right?
Yep.
Probably
Yeah, Brian
so.
Bertino. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get behind that. That movie was absolutely fantastic. I
And
loved it.
maybe more effective for me recently is not necessarily like trying to scare me because as an adult, usually like you just turn on the news and it's scarier than movies, but like if it's really effective at dread, maybe making me feel dread the way
Mm.
Hereditary did, even like Carpenter's Halloween 2, which is not Carpenter, it's just Halloween 2. That movie is like, he's coming. It's like that Hitchcock thing of show him the bomb, but don't, keep cutting back to it. If you can
Mhm.
make me feel dread and uncomfortable later, that's scary to me.
Yeah,
That's-
one that I've always been high on this movie since this one came out. It's only a few years old, and everybody has their thoughts on it or whatnot. But I think it is a modern, I would say, masterpiece to me. Was Get Out, and I think
Mhm.
that movie is phenomenal. And I think that I've liked Peele's other two movies. Us is probably my least favorite. I did really enjoy Nope, but it's just not the same level. I feel like Get Out is like one of those movies where I'll look back on the past decade, 10 years from now, and I'll be like, that's
Mhm.
definitely one of the bright spots of the
Mhm.
decade.
Yeah, and I saw it in the theater, and we went to the movie theater downtown, and I'm from Indianapolis, so there's not a lot of black people, but there were more black people in the theater, and watching it with
Mhm.
them and watching their reaction, because that the movie I can appreciate it, but I don't know that it's for me, like
Yeah.
that audience, and just watching their react, and then you're like, oh, like you see what the true terror is in that movie,
And isn't that so cool too? Like all of Peele's movies, I've seen all three in theaters, and man, the African American community shows the fuck
They
up
show
for
up
his
for him.
movies. Oh
It's
yeah,
good.
I mean full theater. It's like I'm like hell yeah, this is really cool. Like he's just really
They've got a
tapped
voice.
into
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's awesome.
Even the new Candyman, which
I
he
loved it.
co-wrote, like
I loved it. Yeah.
I thought it was a great way to like keep the thing going without reinventing the wheel with that concept, and I thought it was great, and I think it looks really good too. The
Mhm.
score is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, Christian, you
And
got any final questions you have for Brent?
I don't know, man. What do you got coming up after this? What's your podcast schedule? What are your shows? What do you have coming up?
yeah, it shows all the time. BrentComedy.com is my website. I have we're gonna start recording season 2 of They're Coming to Get You. And we're not talking about one of my favorite movies, but I every time people talk horror, but It Follows is one of my favorites.
Fuck yes.
Um,
Love that
just
movie.
and because it's similar to Halloween, it's the score and everything, but I just love the concept and I love that movie. What else? And I do another podcast called The Field Trip with Brent Terkun, and it's not horror necessarily, but we had like it's topic based pop culture, so it's like the best movie openings, and Scream was one that we covered. Saving Private Ryan. No, other topics we do are like parody religions, like the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Yes, Pastafarianism. Let's go.
Yeah, ramen.
Yes.
Like that kind of stuff. We've done famous last words, famous last meals, stuff like that. For the month of October or September, whenever it drops, it will be the urban legends from every state. Nice. So that's a topic-based show. If you don't like one, you'll probably like the next episode. And that's just kind of let's hang out and have fun and talk about this certain topic.
Yeah, very Sounds similar good. To I really dig the Well Read podcast. Because it's very similar. The Field Trip is like that in the sense of like it really is just like let's bullshit about something. Like here's a topic. And like it'll just go wherever, and like it's funny, it's organic. Like those are the most easy listening podcasts. Like so yeah, guys, check that out. If I could make a suggestion, Brent, I don't know if you have it planned for season 2 or season 1 that hasn't come out yet, but I would love to hear you guys talk about Candyman, the original Candyman. I think it's my favorite horror film from the 90s. I fucking love that movie. So
I just watched it last week. So
it's so good. So I really hope you guys cover that soon enough.
Yeah, and if we don't soon, we will eventually, because we have a list, and I'll text Gavin at like 4 a.m. because I keep those kinds of hours, and be like, how about these movies? And I sound Christian like a crazy person. Yeah,
Christian and I are the same way. I say we talk more in the middle of the night than any other time of the day. So yeah,
probably so.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, so check out BrentComedy.com. Brent's he's got 2 shows in Dayton, Ohio this weekend, Friday and Saturday. And obviously he mentioned his podcast, The Field Trip with Brent Terkun, and his new podcast with Gavin. They're coming to get you. As I said, that was the beginning of me, the wheels turning of me going, let's see if he wants to come on here, because we're a horror podcast. We love good horror podcasts, and I'm signing the stamp of approval that is a damn good horror podcast, and I think you guys should go listen to it. Yeah, no problem. Any questions you got for us, man?
No, I think that's it. And anytime you guys want to have me back, I'm all about talking about the stuff that I like.
Well, awesome, maybe we love that. After Halloween ends, we'll revisit that conversation.
Yeah, we can see if Halloween Kills was as good as I thought it was. So
hell yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that's it. I know you wanted to wrap at 9:30, so Christian and I will keep going for a little bit longer.
Cool.
But yeah, we really appreciate you having coming on here and taking the time. And when this is up, I'll shoot you the link. And just spread the word.
Yeah, good talking to you guys. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Thank you.
Cool. See you guys. Thank you.
Have a good night, Brent.
Peace. I gotta get rid of this banner now.
There we go. Hey guys, now you don't have to see my face.
All right, how about this? Hey, there we go.
So, Christian, what'd you think of Brent Terkun?
He was lovely. I liked him a lot. He was a really nice guy. So yeah, you never know with comedians. You know, sometimes they can be tortured souls. But he was very kind and nice.
I felt like he made a concerted effort to really be himself. You know what I mean? Yeah. To not feel like he was trying to play into being a character. And I thought that was cool. You guys got to see the real Brent Terkun, not the one you see on the internet.
Yeah. That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Good guy. Well, Christian, I mean, we said we were going to book into this. We are going to talk a little bit before we go, because normally we go about 2 hours. So fuck it, whatever. Dude, Orphan First Kill. Let's fucking talk about it, man.
I loved it. I thought it was as good as the first one. And I thought it what really surprised me is how much I thought it felt like it was filmed during the same time. It had this beautiful late 2000s aesthetic to it that they nailed it. I thought it was phenomenal. Even with the technical aspects of having to use a stunt girl from behind for her being short and stuff, which was obvious but still done well enough that I forgave it. Not that it really was a sin to begin with, but they nailed it. I thought it was brilliant. I thought the JonBenet Ramsey twist. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
With I thought they that was brilliant, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. This is not just a typical. This is more. There's more to this movie than what I expected. So I thought it was just as good as the first one.
Yeah, I did my review. Okay, so I want to know if you agree with me here. This was one of those movies that, like, I was kind of like, did we miss the boat on this? Is this a little bit too late to revisit this? Like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll probably watch. Then the trailer comes out, and I was like, I was not impressed by the trailer. Like, I was like, this just, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't look or feel the same. And then people are going, it's good. It's good. Like, you should watch it. And I had time today. I can't lie. So I was like, all right, fuck it, whatever. I'll watch
You're
it.
lying about having time.
No, well, I mean, well, dude, come on. You know how it is. Sometimes it's like we don't watch. We'll say like, when I get around to it, if it's something we're not really big into. Yeah. Well, I watched it today, and the moment that there's a fight sequence in the third act of the movie involving her and another female, a brutal knockdown drag out fight. As that fight is taking place, I'm literally sitting on my couch going, dude, this movie fucking rules. Like, it just, like, there was something about it. And I saw you post your Letterboxd score last night, and I almost texted you. And I was kind of be like, you better not just be playing into the fucking hype train that everybody else is on right now. Like, is this actually that good?
Yeah.
No,
I don't ever get on a hype train.
I know, but I was seeing everybody do this. I'm like, is it actually that good? And I watched it. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's really good. This is one of those movies where I feel like the trailer did not do it justice at all. Like, I
didn't watch the trailer.
Well, good, because if you would have watched the trailer, I implore you to watch it now that you've seen the movie, and just like watch the trailer. And the trailer just did not sell the movie for what it was. Like, not in the sense of plot twist, just like in feel and scope and scale and everything. It was just kind of like,
I can see that.
Yeah, it seemed like cheap, and I was like, I don't know about this. And then I watched it. I'm like, it's not cheap at all.
What I liked about it a lot too was Esther, which is not her actual character's name, but that's who she becomes because of what she's doing. I like seeing her become almost the anti-hero, the vulnerable character, because she was so violent and vicious and manipulative in the first one. To see her on the opposite end of that was cool. And you almost kind of was rooting for her, but the family dynamic was just like, oh my God, this is I could be bringing too much of a parallel, but to me that was clear, because the whole John Benet Ramsey thing is the people think that the brother accidentally killed the daughter and the mom covered it up. So that's the story. So I think that's what they're playing into, but it's funny because my wife was like, hey, I got to go run to the bathroom really quick. I'll be right back. Well, this was right when the girl went to the guy's house to kill him because he took the record off of her table. And as soon as Sydney left the room, the mom shows up and shoots her in the head. I'm like, well, I got to fucking pause this movie. Because Sydney's like, what happened? Well, you just missed a big plot twist. And so she's like, oh my God. So
Spoiler, good. We're going to talk a little bit of spoilers, guys. So just letting you know, because I wanted to address that too. Dude, that fucking moment when she goes, how did you know I wasn't her? Like, the mom doesn't even know I'm not her. And he goes, yes, she does. And then bam, I was like, what the fuck? Like, dude, wild. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. When she's first putting the pill into her food, she's saying it, and you were kind of led to believe that she was just trying to knock her out. But then she feeds the food to the mouse and it kills the mouse. She was trying to kill her, right?
100%. She wanted to get her out of the equation, I think, because there's no way that could have ended up with her being alive and leaving in a good way.
No, and when she made her the smoothie the next morning, I did not see that coming. I thought she had poisoned it, and I thought she was going to drink it and like convulse or some shit, and the fucking dead mouse is in there. Fucking nasty, dude.
Ugh. Yeah.
It was great. I mean, it really was. The one complaint I had about the movie, and if from talking to you, it seems like you might have liked this. I don't know. It was kind of distracting to me. It was kind of the aesthetic at times. They intentionally, it was very foggy and blurry. And
I adored it. So anti what today's movies look like. I want more stuff like that.
And I believe the director, somebody involved with the production had said that was intentional. It was a way to almost draw focus away from Esther a lot because of the age gap, from the first movie. It was almost to kind of unfocus things and help with that rather than de-aging and stuff like that. So I get that. but in some scenes it was a little distracting,
Well,
like when it was darker.
to me, it just felt like it was made in 2008 or 9. Like it felt like it was just it had that look to it to me. So to me, that was a major plus because I so appreciate the way movies looked during that time, that weird, slightly post film era digital. So I loved it. I watched that, and then I watched Prey before that yesterday too.
Yeah, I saw
So
you give Prey 3.5.
I thought Prey was good. I thought it was a lot better than some of them. That's for sure.
The Predator, yeah,
I
definitely.
thought the guy whoever was performing as the Predator was phenomenal
Mhm.
with all his like is taking his weapons and flipping shit and the way he was striking at people.
I just thought it was really cool to see the Predator in that environment. You know, like
Yeah,
hundreds
it
of
was
years
fun.
ago, it was really cool.
Yeah, I need to apparently one complaint that people had was like, okay, this is Native American culture, but they're speaking like they're from Bend, Oregon. Like, what's up with that? Like, they sound so Americana the way they were talking, which that's true, I guess. But then I was thinking about it. I was like, well, Puppet Master 3 takes place in fucking Nazi Germany, and everybody's speaking English. So
yeah.
it's like, but I think they also released that movie in some kind of native tongue
Yep,
language too.
Comanche. Yep, they
So
have a Comanche dub that you can watch.
I don't need to see it, but I'm sure that it probably has a different element to it. But I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty brisk. Felt they moved at a good pace. I liked the girl, the main character. I thought she was really good.
Dude, her last name is literally Mid Thunder in real life. That's fucking awesome. The actress's name is Amber Mid Thunder. Like, dude, I want thunder in my last name.
But yeah, I kind of do hope that those movies come to physical media. That's my only nervous tick about these straight to streaming. Like,
I think
wanna
both
own
should have gone to
Orphan.
theaters, personally.
Sure, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. It's a shame. It's like, man,
well, Orphan is playing in limited theaters, and it made like 2 million this weekend.
I saw
Which,
that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it was only in like 400 something theaters, so it's like an average of 33,000 per theater, which is apparently really fucking good. So you're wondering if Paramount would think about maybe opening it up a little bit more and trying to make more money, because they've openly, Isabel Furman wants to do more movies. She was like, I want to come back, and I think she's fucking awesome in the role.
I mean, why not? It's a well-defined, identifiable character with a lot of personality. It's a home run to me. But they'd have to keep being inventive, because First Kill to me was on par with Orphan, and there were some things I like better about First Kill, but Vera Farmiga is in the first one, so can't underplay that. I love her. Oh my god, she's beautiful.
She's fantastic in like everything. Also today, Rudy, listener of the show, sent me all of the posters, the Child's Play posters from the 4Ks that he pre-ordered. He didn't want them, and I come home today with a package on my doorstep. I got 5 Child's Play posters, so that's fucking awesome. I need to get some frames, but did you pre-order that?
No, somebody sent those to me as well.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And I got the big tube and everything. They're gorgeous, and they're so shiny looking.
Yep.
I found myself admiring the original posters even more than those new artworks, because they're just so glossy and nice. So I've got some frames in here. I might swap them out and put like Child's Play 1 or 2 up here. Actually, I've got 2 up now.
I'm about to reorganize behind me. I'm going to basically condense everything closer together so I can get more of these posters up on the wall. So, yeah, man, no, I mean, some good stuff. I've been watching the Exorcist TV series. I don't know if you ever caught that. There was only 2 seasons. It was pretty well received as far as I'd seen online and remembered, and I like it. I do. It's pretty cool. I mean, season 1's got
I had no idea that ever came out. It must have just blew right past me.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. It's got Gina Davis in it in the first season, at least, and the first season was great. I'm 2 episodes into season 2, and I'm really enjoying it. I mean, it's not what you would expect. Like, it's not like a rehash of The Exorcist. It's actually very original. I'm really digging it. But yeah, no, that was cool. I guess I got into that because I'm kind of trying to hype myself up for this new Exorcist movie that's coming out next year, in the sense of like, I really want it to be good. And And so yeah, I've gotten around to watching that, and I'm liking it. I am. Still haven't started Breaking Bad. I know. Nobody. You know.
That's on you. I'm not gonna give you shit about that. I'm guaranteeing you're gonna be like, oh my god, I can't believe I waited this long.
But that's the
But I'm
problem.
not
too,
giving you
Christian.
shit.
That's the problem too, though, is because I know it's going to be one of those shows where I'm not going to be able to stop,
You're
and I
not
will lose sleep, and it's just
like meth being the main focus of the show. You will get addicted to it, and you will lose sleep.
I'm fucking sure I will.
But
I don't know anything else top of mind.
I don't either. I went to Spirit today. Got some cool shit.
Yeah.
That's about it. I guess that's it. We had a good conversation. That was a good interview.
No, we did. I enjoyed it, and like I said, guys, check out his podcast. You know, I mean, I'm sure you guys know him for his comedy and everything like that, but if comedy isn't your thing, or if his style of comedy isn't your thing, that's totally fine. He's got a pretty good horror podcast that I feel like more people should check out. You know,
yeah, a killer collection too. He had a lot of figures and shit. I recognized a lot of that stuff he had. That's pretty badass.
Yeah. I was I felt like it flowed nicely, you know. We hope you guys enjoyed it too. I don't know, Christian, we haven't talked much about what's on the docket for the podcast.
I don't know. I don't know. We usually figure it out.
We're getting close to October, man.
Oh man. I don't know. I don't want to say it on here, and then people expect it, and then we not do it. Like what usually happens. So
True. I mean, we wouldn't spoil it anyway. I mean, we have been kicking around this Stephen King idea for weeks now, but then something else comes up, and we're like, well, let's do this.
Yeah, something always comes up whenever we want to do it.
We there's obviously more watch-alongs that we want to do, watch-alongs that people are asking us to do. Obviously, October is going to be pretty busy because that's when we're shooting to do the Taking Shape episode or episodes. Obviously, we're going to do a Halloween Ends thing. So we'll probably do a Halloween movie watch along in that month just because.
Which one? Which one are we going to do?
I don't know. I mean, my opinion, we could do 6.
Yeah. 6
we
would
could
be
do
fun.
3.
I was trying to think of something funny, but
we already did Resurrection.
Exactly.
Nothing funnier than that.
I was thinking.
We did Resurrection and 5, 2 of them, and Rob Zombie. Well, we talked enough about Rob Zombie's movies where we've done all the controversial. But you know, Halloween 6, Halloween 3, either one of those would be fun. So October is going to be pretty busy. But yeah, September's a weird month, man, because there's not a lot coming out in theaters. I mean, Pearl. I'm sure we'll talk about Pearl in September.
Yeah. At least we got that. It's going to be in theaters, so maybe we can go see that.
Yeah. Also, October shit, dude. That's what is it? What's the fucking Fright Scarefest? Scarefest. There's definitely going to be some content from Scarefest because we're going to be in person for the first time ever. You know, I don't know how that's going to go. Feel Christian and I meeting in person.
Hey,
I don't know, man. He's gonna be like, I don't know about this guy, but
I'm so excited for Scarefest. I really am. I'm so excited. It's my vacation basically,
dude. I mean, you're gonna be there. Piz is gonna be there. Justin's gonna be there. Jamie's gonna be there. Jay's gonna be there. I mean, so many people I've connected
the
with.
Dead Pit guys are gonna be there. It literally everybody's
gonna be there. Yeah, like people that we've only seen virtually ever. Gonna meet them all in person. Hope that they don't hate you in person. I mean, that's the biggest thing, you know, but it's pretty cool. So, I mean, that's just my long-winded way of saying, guys, October's going to be fucking like pedal to the metal that whole month. There's going to be plenty of stuff, but September is a weird month. So Christian and I, as much as, you know, we don't do this enough, we probably should do this more, but we're going to have to brainstorm some shit for the next month. You know, sometimes it's usually one of us just texts the other one, what about this? And the other one's like, okay. Like, yeah, we should probably workshop some stuff.
Yeah, we need to. I'm trying to think if there's any like just big monstrous movies that we could do a commentary or casual on that people would love besides Halloween that I'm trying to think of. Just like holy shit, like that'd be phenomenal.
Well,
I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out.
yeah, I mean, there are ones, you know. We could fuck, dude. I mean, if we're being totally honest, here's an idea for you. I don't know how you feel about this. You guys know I haven't seen this movie. A lot of you have been telling me I need to rectify that and see this movie. What better way than see this movie for the first time, live commentary style with Christian, Cannibal Holocaust?
I'm down.
I was gonna say.
I'm down, but only if you agree to watch it as it was originally filmed.
And how would I do that?
Just when you watch it on Shudder, watch the uncensored version.
Okay.
You know what that means, though, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. You need to experience it.
Eh.
Come on, dude. You're a horror fan.
No, I'm not trepidatious about doing it. I'm gonna do it. I'm just saying, like, I know what that means, and you guys will get to see my live reaction to watching that movie.
I would actually love to do that. I want to do that next week. Like, I would love, unless there's something we have that gets planned or something that's like an anniversary that we talked about. But other than that, I would die to do Cannibal Holocaust.
Okay. Yeah, my first time watching. You guys are you're gonna see me go through it.
That sounds great.
Got to watch the uncensored version too. The real animal deaths. That'll
the turtle.
I've heard. Yeah.
I mean,
is it not a hard watch for you? Like, it's not a movie you mind watching?
No. I love that kind of stuff, man. But it's like, dude, it's history. For better or worse, that movie happened. The story behind the director going to jail because they really thought people died. It's unbelievable. And we could talk about that. I mean, it's got the most amazing history of any film ever made. I mean, people went to prison.
You'll have to get creative with the title to really draw people in, because you guys know how our watch-alongs go. Like, yeah, we're going to watch it, but we're going to bullshit for most of it. But at the same time, it's going to be different than any watch-along we've done, because this is going to be my first time watching it. And
I already got it. I'll plan it all out. It's going to be great.
Because awesome. I mean, this is going to be an authentic reaction, very similar to the video I did of Zombie on my channel. You guys got to see some of my authentic reactions to that. It's going to be the same way here. Don't know if I should sleep in fear or not, but
just clench your cheeks, get ready.
All right, I'm ready, man.
Well, on that note,
yeah, there's your teaser for next week, guys. Again, check out BrentComedy.com. Check out his podcast. They're coming to get you, and the field trip with Brent Terkun. He will share this on his socials. We'll obviously share it on our socials. Not a controversial episode at all. It was really just a good talk. Dudes being dudes, and we had a good time. And we hope you guys, it came across to me like it's an easy listen. So we hope it's an easy listen to you guys too.
I agree.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. I guess we'll see you guys next week on the Uneeda Horror Podcast. Until then, I don't know, sleep in fear for my live reaction to Cannibal Holocaust. That's going to do it.
There you go.